Thank you all for joining us for the Waterloo Region election series of interviews with local candidates. Today I'm joined by the Liberal Party's candidate for the riding of Cambridge, Ms. Surekha Shenoy. Ms. Shenoy, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay. As with the other interviews, we have 6 questions, first of which is, all 8 municipal governments have committed to the Transform Waterloo Region strategy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, with a 50% reduction by 2030. How will you, as a local representative, help our communities and businesses achieve this goal?
Thank you for the question, James. An elected Ontario Liberal government will re-establish Ontario's leadership on the environment, cutting greenhouse gas emissions by 50% below 2005 levels by 2030. We will help move people in this region by slashing all public transit fares across the province to $1 a ride until January of 2024, taking cars off the road, reducing pollution and congestion. I will continue to support our local and provincial environmental initiatives through Climate Action Waterloo Region. I will work with our local and regional governments to help divert and recycle 60% of waste from our landfills by 2030 and 85% by 2050. We will also help update our ineffective waste management and recycling in industrial and commercial sectors and hold polluters accountable for their waste. We will also expand the list of products that can be recycled in blue bins and implement a landfill ban on food and organic waste, requiring green bin programs to work with farmers and fuel producers to harness organic waste for renewable natural gas and reduce methane emissions. Finally, we will prevent plastic products from becoming pollution in the first place by restricting certain harmful single-use products, establishing strong standards for plastics, including how much has to be recycled content, and encouraging businesses to use packaging made from biomass-based polymers. We will also provide grants and interest-free loans to retrofit homes and buildings, which this government canceled. We will also provide up to $9,500 in rebates on electric vehicles and charging equipment. And lastly, we will provide $500 rebate in e-bikes, expand cycling lanes and bike trails, and make it safer for cyclists and work towards reducing road fatalities and serious road injuries. These are some of the things I would help work with the local and regional government to help towards reducing our carbon emissions. Thank you.
Okay, so second question is, how will your party meet the target of protecting 30% of Ontario's lands and waters by 2030 in keeping with Canada's international commitments?
So we are definitely supportive of keeping up with Canada's international commitments. Our Liberal government, Ontario Liberal government, will designate 30% of our land as protected areas by 2030. That's right now it's about 10%. We will up it to by 20% to 30%. What that will do is we will expand the green belt and create 5 new provincial parks. And Ontario Liberal government will also take the equivalent of 500,000 cars off the road by planting 800 million new trees over the next 8 years. That's about 100 million trees every year. We will clean up and reduce pollution in our rivers and lakes. We will get all the parties working together on climate action, and we will become a net zero government by 2030. That's a huge thing. We want to make sure the government, for all government buildings, facilities, anything that the government touches will be net zero by 2030.
So what will you do to address the need for mixed multi-use housing in walkable communities, and that to ensure that new home construction is done sustainably and affordably?
Again, Ontario Liberals have a plan to make buying and renting affordable by building urgently needed homes, putting land speculators on notice, and closing the rent control loopholes created by Doug Ford government. We will put the families back at the center of housing planning and will double the pace of home building this year, keeping that pace until we build 1.5 million homes. The Liberal plan will also create a new Ontario Home Building Corporation to finance and build housing of all types. It will end the wait list for social and supportive housing and build affordable homes for first-time buyers. We will work quickly together with our municipal partners to end exclusionary zoning policies and allow homes with up to 3 units and 2 stories to be built in residential areas across our province, with this permission also extending to secondary and laneway homes. We will also ban new non-resident ownership. We will also tax empty homes and put a use it or lose it levy on speculators with serviced land and approved building permits. Ontario voters will have a choice between the four Conservatives who have introduced 4 plans and made no progress on the housing crisis that we are facing. We will also, the Ontario Liberals will address this crisis once and for all with our housing plan. So thank you for the question.
Okay. How do you support sustainable transportation choices with less car dependency and better active transportation and public transit?
So we've all heard our highly popular Bucka Ride transit that we have said we will introduce the minute we are elected on June 2nd. A strengthened transit network benefits both drivers and commuters alike by getting more cars off the road and getting more people moving around the province. I have said this before, we have to change habit. We are so used to jumping into our cars and driving from point A to point B, which is not the right thing right now with the gas prices so high. Having a Bucka Ride is a great incentive motivator for people to change habit and get onto the public transit. Ridership is low. We know that, and that is one of the reasons making it Bucka Ride is a great way of incenting people to get on the bus. Increasing ridership will also help improve our infrastructure in terms of having more, bus routes, increasing the frequency of buses, whether it is internally within the city or across towns, between towns. Those are some of the things which will increase or encourage people to take with a Bucka Ride platform that we have said we would introduce. Now, a strengthened transit network, like I said, benefits both the drivers and commuters alike. We want to save people money, and move more people on the transit, especially right now. That's why we are slashing the transit fares. With this, we are hoping to get 400,000 cars off the road, and this will also help reduce pollution and congestion. We will also make it more affordable and safer to bike, walk, drive by providing a $500 rebate for e-bike, expanding biking lanes and bike trails, making it easier to find and park bikes. We've seen that work very well where we have those e-bikes, not just e-bikes, biking stations across where you can put your bike there. At the same time, we know that the more work is needed to build our roads and transit infrastructure so that more families can get where they are going quickly. We have our ION and LRT here right now. I'm looking forward to the phase 2 part of LRT coming to Cambridge. Of ION actually coming to Cambridge. For too long, changing governments in Ontario have ripped up or ignored our existing transit plans, delaying progress and contributing to more gridlock and pollution. We will put an end to these political games by maintaining all existing funding for transit plans, getting shovels in the ground quickly. And we will be reversing Doug Ford's cuts to electric vehicle rebates by providing up to $9,500 in support of electric vehicles, so that we can meet a target of only selling zero emission vehicles by 2025. Thank you.
Okay. Our second to last question is, How will your party protect farmland and address the negative ecological effects of aggregate extraction?
That's a very good question. We will work to help our farmers get ahead and are willing to take on mega companies who have used their power to drive unfair negotiations with suppliers through a grocery code of conduct. We will also make Ontario's food supply chain more resilient by preserving farmland and promoting sustainable farming techniques, as well as investing in additional regional processing capacity. We will develop a made for rural climate action plan that recognizes the unique challenges of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in remote settings and the agriculture sector, which will include working with federal partners to strengthen carbon tax rebates to farmers. We will finally push against Doug Ford's anti conservation agenda by bringing more lands under the Greenbelt's protection in close collaboration with local and Indigenous communities and farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, our last question this morning. BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and women are disproportionately exposed to environmental hazards such as landfills and industrial pollution. How will you address this environmental injustice?
We will work with social and economics and provide social and economic stability for Indigenous people by ensuring Indigenous childcare needs are met and creating 22,000 new homes dedicated to Indigenous families. We will get everyone access to safe, clean drinking water, ending the need for boil water advisories. We will also restore our rivers, wetlands, and watersheds that our Indigenous communities rely upon by cleaning up and reducing pollution in our rivers and lakes. Like I said before, we will build 22,000 new homes for off-reserve Indigenous families, and we will work to remove systemic racism from our institutions and make critical investments so that Indigenous communities have access to the same world-class healthcare, education, and services that the rest of Ontarians have and enjoy. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Shenoy, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us and for joining us to speak to the local community. And we hope that for those who are watching, whomever they choose to vote for, that they will vote on or by June 2nd. Thank you.